Welcome to the 1905 podcast, home of the world champions, Chelsea. Each week, Joe and I bring you our unfiltered takes on the highs, the lows, and everything in between, following the Blues from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding stand. Let's hit the notes. We're back for a new season, the World Champions podcast now we're going to call it. And I am in person, well, kind of online with Joe today to preview the new season. Joe, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling very excited. I mean, what a lovely couple of games we've had against Leverkusen and Milan. Obviously, coming off the back of the huge achievement in America, winning the Club World Cup. So yeah, it's been a good few months to be a Chelsea fan, and not a bad time to have come to our second season doing our pod.
It feels really feel good, doesn't it? I can't remember a time going into a new season where it's felt just this positive. You're definitely going back to the sort of Tuchel time, and it's great, isn't it? Like, it's just there's an energy in the fans. The squad seems like with great harmony, and even the media seem to be slowly catching on that maybe everything we've been building for the last couple of years hasn't been insane.
Well, I think our WhatsApp group for a start has been the most positive I've ever seen it in my life, which is always fun. I mean, I'm waiting for the inaugural first defeat where it's Maresca out. But
So true.
yeah, but as you said, the squad itself looks very happy, doesn't it? I think people like Cole Palmer, to use him as an example, I've looked at him in these pre-season games, and you said it yourself, he's got his swagger back. But I also think that when you've got a player like him who is clearly a very talented and clever football player, if he's also got players like Estevão playing on the wing, and he knows whatever happens, whichever minute of the game it is, he'll be in the right position all the time. For really good players, you go back to the likes of a Rooney or a Gerrard or a Lampard, or whatever, if they've got fantastic players around them, the game is so much easier. And I think you can kind of see, and not just Estevão, Gittins on the other side, obviously Santos in the midfield, everybody knows, or seems to know at the moment, let's not get carried away, but everyone seems to know what they're doing. And opposed to last year when it was a bit kind of, we weren't sure what we're going to get, and it was like, oh, we're just building something, and we lost the home game against Man City, and it was a bit kind of, oh, we expected it. Now I don't kind of expect that. That's where my expectation is. Not saying we're going to win every game, but I do feel as though I've come into the season with a lot more confidence, and I think that is showing in the team as well.
Yeah, it's amazing how your perception as fans of everything can change, and obviously what the end of the season when the World Club Cup had a massive impact. I mean, I don't know if you saw this. Chelsea's form is incredible in the last 20 games. We've basically lost 2, I think it is. We've lost in the last 20 games. I read this right. We lost 2 where obviously Jackson got sent off at Newcastle and in the World Club Cup. We lost the one of the Conference League games, but it was the dead rubber, second leg at the Bridge. And we've won 16 out of 20 and drawn 1. It's an incredible run of form. All sorts of performances as well in there where we've talked in the last season being really gritty, and obviously now starting to show a bit of swagger, and it's exciting. And the perception change I feel in my head is with Maresca, where we definitely went through moments last season of probably starting to doubt him in around March time, and now you're going in and think he looks different, doesn't he? Like he just has this sort of, like, the way he's carrying himself. It's I have faith. That's what I would say.
He seems to be learning on the job, doesn't he? I think that's the thing that we all wanted to see, is that don't be stuck doing the same thing, like we've said a million times over and over again. And that's what's been refreshing. And look, we kind of had a conversation, didn't we, about this amongst our friends, where every team are going to play differently. Some teams are going to sit back on you. Some teams are going to hit you on the counter attack. Some teams are going to play a high press, whatever. Everyone does something different. So the nice thing I think with Maresca is that he's kind of realizing what he needs to do for a specific team. I don't think at the moment anyway, there was a time from Christmas to February, March, where we were playing the same way and doing the same thing over and over again, and it was driving everybody mad. But I feel as though, like you say, that back into the season, he realised that he needed to do something with the team, make sure we got top 4, and he went gritty, he went defensive. He was like, let's secure it up at the back, let's try and get our shots went down, our chances went down, but we took one. We win 1-0, 2-1 maybe. But in the Club World Cup, he changed things. He tried some different formations, he tried some different set pieces, etc. He did lots of different things, and it showed. And I think the players actually enjoyed it. You could see there was a lot of them playing with a smile on their face, and that seems to have carried over into the 2 pre-season friendlies, which has been great to see. And lots of different performers, lots of different, like I say, lots of different formation changes again, and players coming on and off all the time. But it was a nice, I don't know, it was a really nice 2 games to play those 2 games at home. Like you said to me, Delap scoring on his home debut, Pedro scoring his home debut, etc. I know they're only friendlies, but it's nice they're not coming to the bridge at the weekend going, oh, I haven't done this yet. I haven't scored a goal at home. They've all done it now. It's hopefully come Saturday, it will be a lot easier for them to just go out there and play and do their best.
Yeah, they couldn't have gone better, really, the games. And they sort of ticked off everything you'd want to see, didn't they? From performances and the new guys. And what we're going to do for today's episode, we're going to split it into 2. Part 1, we're going to run through the squad that we think is likely going into the season with, and go position by position very quickly and kind of give our perception on just how strong this squad is and how far we think we can go this season. And then we will give our kind of expectations for the season, what we think when we look back at the end of the year will be realistic. If you remember last year, Joe, we did rightly predict that we would get top 4 and win the Conference League. So let's hope that we are similarly correct today. Let's start with the goalkeepers then. We will most likely be going into the season with a trio of Rob Sanchez, Philip Jorgensen and Gaga Slanina, the forgotten man. I sort of forgotten he existed until he came back for the World Club Cup. I think he's going to be number 3. The rumours linking us to Mike Mannion and Donnarumma have died down. It's fair to say, isn't it, that this is probably one of the areas that we're going to go through that we would have liked to have potentially seen some business in the summer. But how are you feeling about that trio going into the season?
Yeah, I think at the start of the window, I think we all saw those Mannion rumours. We were like, okay, that is clear where Chelsea are going straight away. For position 1, we're going to change it. But it didn't happen for one reason and another. I've come around a little bit towards Sanchez, basically for this reason. And I saw it again in the friendly he played against Milan, not Leverkusen, I know. But Chelsea didn't seem to play, again, this tippy-tappy stuff too much at the back. When Sanchez did play, you noticed the 2 midfield players seemed to create a big hole for Pedro to drop into. And it was actually Pedro that he was playing the ball into and not the midfield players. So, again, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but if we do lose the ball, let's say near the halfway line in that area, it's not as catastrophic as losing it in our 6-yard box or on the edge of our 18-yard box. So he definitely went longer. Again, there was lots of times where he was clicking the ball into Neto and Gittins respectively on the other side. So that doesn't bother me too much. We all know that Sanchez is a very good shot stopper. We know that he seems to command his box pretty well. He's good on crosses. The players seem to like him. That does make a big difference in a football team. If you've got, there was a moment against Man City away last year where you could see Fernandes like caught on camera sort of going, what is this guy all about? Because he kept making mistakes. But the squad do seem to like him. Something's happened, within that team where I feel as though, even though I would have liked to have seen him changed and we all wanted to see a new person at the helm, I think now, if we continue to play the way we have done in these pre-season friendlies, I don't think we've got too much of a problem there. And it's not... Look, I realise a concern for some people, and I see this as well. If he makes a mistake in the first 2 weeks, week, or whatever, he gives away a goal, you're going to get the media and other Chelsea fans straight up going, oh, we should have changed him, he's no good. But I think that I'm kind of willing to accept that every now and again. It just can't happen every week. As long as he doesn't make these errors, like I say, over and over and over again, I think he might be okay. As for Jorgensen, his pre-season game against Leverkusen, I thought he was really good. I thought his handling was great. I thought he didn't make any mistakes. Again, he's a young man. He's learning his trade. Does he want to play first team football? I'm sure he does. But learning at a big club like Chelsea, I think it can't do him any harm. I think he will get his minutes this season in cup games. He may even play the odd Champions League game if we do well in that competition and qualify early-ish. But no, I'm not as concerned as I was at the end of last season. I'll be honest with you. I've kind of calmed myself down on that, and hopefully that he can prove me right.
Such a good point about the way that we're playing from the back, because if that's a genuine tactical change, which it feels like from Rescue, it's really smart, isn't it? Because every time you think of Sanchez and you worry, it's those really short passes that he plays to the edge of the box, where actually sometimes they can almost be a harder ball, and it's a riskier ball, isn't it? Because I actually say if you lose it, you're done. Whereas pinging it in a bit harder into the middle of the pitch, his long passing is actually pretty good. We saw it in the World Club Cup final. We saw it actually against Milan, didn't we, when he put the ball in behind for João Pedro. It gives us a completely different outlet, and he's fine at that. So it's a really smart move from Maresca if he's kind of changed the tactics there to kind of go, right, we know Sanchez isn't the best at that short stuff, but we can adapt.
Correct if I'm wrong, was the Milan sending off, did that come from Sanchez's kick as well? So
Yeah,
again,
it did.
okay, it's a fairly straight pass down the middle, and the Milan defence didn't defend it overly well. I must admit, they didn't have a lot of cover around that new guy. But once again, it just goes to prove that he can see a pass. We saw it in the Club World Cup with the one for Gusto that ended it, led to our first goal. He can play out from the back very, very well. And I think the fact that Chelsea play these short passes within the team environment, I think as the game is going on, you can't help but be sucked in. So, for example, it doesn't matter what the team is, you kind of go, oh, Chelsea tapping it around, you naturally move up the field, and that's when it goes back to Sanchez, and that's when you go long. And I think mixing it up is all the teams I've ever played in. If you play the same way all the time, you do become very predictable. People just kind of go, just wait there, he'll do that in a minute, and 9 times out of 10 you do it. The way Chelsea have been playing, you're kind of catching everybody unawares, and I'm all for it at the moment.
Yeah. And of course, the big reason for not getting a keeper this summer is Mike Penders, isn't it? Because they clearly see him as having absolute world-class potential. He's got the move that we predicted that's gone to Strasbourg, which just feels perfect. And if you were to go and get a Donnarumma or even a Mike Maignan, it was going to potentially cause you a challenge down the line if they really think he's as good as he could be. And I know you're excited by his potential from what you've heard on the grapevine.
Yeah, not a lot to say on Penders really, because you want to see him play a full season at Strasbourg and kind of have a bit of an idea what he's like. But again, from all the reports straight away, his first game I think was very good. And look, you're banking on potential. We know this with Chelsea players, all the ones we've had recently. But I think now the club don't seem to be signing many duds. And I realise there was a few at the beginning that didn't quite pan out as they should have done, but they've not done too badly on resale value on those either. But the ones that are coming in, I'd say now, certainly seem to be hitting the mark more often than not. And even the ones we've signed this season, again, I know the season hasn't played out yet, but from what you see in the early signs, they all look like really good players. And you're just hoping that Penders can be that guy. Maybe it mightn't be next season. It could be the year after. He might have another year at Strasbourg. Who knows? I think all depends really on what Sanchez does. If Sanchez has a very good season this year where we keep quite a lot of clean sheets and he's been a reason why we've perhaps finished third, second, won the league, who knows? He'd be a hard man to replace just like that. So it could be a 1 or 2 year thing for Penders. So time will tell.
Yeah, really going to be really interesting to watch. I think the fan reaction to Sanchez this year, because it got bad at the Bridge last year. I think everyone just got nervous around him. But we've seen it with someone like Cucurella. It can very quickly turn around with good form, and I think he definitely has won a few people over the World Club Cup. So let's watch that one. Right backs, Reece James and Malo Gusto. The thing I wanted to say on this one actually is both have, I think, really raised their game. And obviously with Gusto going into World Club Cup, we had some concerns. He put in a couple of really good performances at the end of that. It was brilliant in the final. But I wanted to pick on Reece James on one point, and it was that there was a little point towards the end of last season where I just was looking at him, and I think I've said it on the podcast that I was a bit worried. Is like, he looks a bit heavier? Has he lost a little bit of that extra spark that made him special? I looked at him really closely in the Milan game and Leverkusen when he came in as well, and I was like, oh, he looks like he's back. He looks just a little bit lighter on his feet. He had that change of pace that we know all about, and obviously we know his quality on the ball. And I was looking at him again. Oh, we've had him fit now for 8 months, and it's probably longer actually, and it just feels great, doesn't it? What have you made of his performances of late?
Oh, you just said everything I was going to say. I was going to literally. I was watching Reece James clips before I come on here this morning. Generally think that guy has got himself fit again, and I think that is we all knew that's what he would need, but we all thought that every time he came back, he went out again for another 6 weeks, and it was like, oh no. I think he looks wonderful, Chris. I think he looks incredibly fit now. Even though it's his swagger. Reece always played with a swagger. Do you remember like when he come from Wigan, people would say, oh, sorry, he was on loan at Wigan, but people would say he was this player and he was that player and he could do this, he could shoot and he can cross. And you were like, oh, let's see it. And then first game into the season, he hit that one in the top corner against Brighton, I think it was. And you're like, oh yeah, we've got someone here. And he then continued to play that way until he got his bad injury. And then it just completely went away. And you could see he was thinking about his game all the time. Now he doesn't seem to be thinking. So forgive me because I can't remember which game it was in. I think it might have been the Leverkusen one where there was a ball played over his back shoulder, and he had a defender. He had the winger coming towards him, and he just kind of flicked the ball outside of the foot back to the goalkeeper like it was nothing, like it was. Oh, I do this all the time. And I was like, that's when you know a player's got his mojo back. There was also a great instance against Milan where he's tracking back down he's in his right back position, but he's tracking his fullback. He's kind of got a little bit out of position, but he chases him right across the box, and he makes this unbelievable sliding tackle right on the edge of his 18-yard box and scoops the ball back to Sanchez again, like it was nothing, but it wasn't. And that's a run. That's a recovery run, which we haven't seen from Reece too much. And I think once you see a fullback doing recovery runs as good as that, that's when you know they kind of probably got their fitness back.
Yeah, and what I think is obviously I think he's growing as a captain as well, and I feel like winning 2 trophies. We said we have to start winning trophies again, and being the captain in those 2 big finals where he himself played really well, didn't he, in both games? I think that will have given him an extra, growth as a captain, because a lot of people say, oh, is he the obvious captain? People are already sort of saying, oh, there are other people in the squad who could be captain, could Colwell be captain, etc. I think him coming in and doing that would have given him a lift as well, which would have really helped him. And what about Malo Gusto? Because I know you've been a bit up and down on him of late, and we've thought maybe Achimpong could come in for him, but he's going to stay now, isn't he, for this season, it looks like. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, weirdly, Gusto's another one, a bit like Sanchez. Now, this isn't me saying I didn't like the player. He's had 2 good games. Now I like the player again. That's not what I mean. But I definitely felt as though he struggled. And I wasn't the only one to say this. He definitely struggled playing Maresca's system, as it were. Again, I think Maresca has changed something for him as well. He looks now a bit more up and down like he used to. Now, there'll be some people that say, well, why did he try and change him in the first place? We don't fully know the details. We don't know why someone plays better all of a sudden. But he looks as though, a bit like Reece in many ways, he's got his confidence back. I'm not saying because they won the World Club Cup, that's the reason. But if Gusto continues to put in these sort of performances that we've seen at the back end of the season and now in these 2 pre-season friendlies, there's no reason why he's not fantastic cover for Reece. So again, I'm quite up on Gusto, if I'm honest with you. And I think there was a reason why Bayern Munich was sniffing around him a little bit during the summer. I don't think you can afford to sell him, because even if Reece, sadly, let's hope not, but if Reece did go down, I think Gusto now is in a position where he can come in and do a more than solid job. Whereas last year, I felt as though when Reece was sort of being taken out for his own not injury problems, but kind of his fitness problems, I felt as though Gusto wasn't really taking his chance. But let's hope now that he's sort of settled himself, and if Maresca has changed him back to a more up and down winger, then it can only be a good thing for him. But stop shooting. Just please stop shooting.
Yeah, he cannot shoot. He actually went up in my estimations Gusto, because he talked in the summer about the fact that he felt he hadn't had a good season, and he said he knows he can do so much better, so much more. He felt that he'd had a much better first season than second, and you don't often hear such honesty from players these days. And he kind of like I respected that. I thought, okay, fair play. And he said, I'll come back next season, I'll be even stronger. So yeah, massive credit to him. And then we move over to our left backs. And I think this is where you start to make an argument that there's not a team in the league who wouldn't want to swap their fullback options for ours, because on the left, you've got Cucurella, who hopefully might be signing a new contract soon, that's been strongly linked. And the new man Hato. It feels like we are really strong now in that area, doesn't it?
Yeah, Cucurella for me is now one of the best players in the world in that position. Not to be fair, at fullback generally. And it seems as though Reece is quite happy for Cucurella to do a lot of that inverting and getting higher up the field. Now, there'll be some that say we've stopped inverting. I don't think we have, actually. I think we do it less, but I think we still do it. And you found, again, against both the Leverkusen and Milan, Cucurella still had a couple of shots around the penalty spot area from crosses that came in from Gittins and from Neto. So it wasn't Neto, sorry, it was Estevão. And I was like, oh, okay, Cucurella is the furthest man forward. I don't think Reece is bothered by that anymore. I think there would have been a time when he was like in his pomp, when he was going up and down, injuries weren't a problem, where he'd have been like, I want to be that guy. I think Reece realises that he can still provide crosses from his position. But if that means that Cucurella, like we saw against Manchester United, was it, when Reece crossed for Cucurella to score? I think it's kind of, you're going to see more of that. Reece is not going to get in the box, I don't think, as much as Cucurella. As for Hato, again, looks like a really good replacement for Cucurella when he goes out and he needs a rest. But I think Hato, in his own right, is a very good player. Very young, captained Ajax already, on merit, not because he got that armband for coming on. When a player goes off and you get it for 5 minutes into the game, he's captained Ajax from the start. A few Ajax legends have come out and said that Chelsea have got a fantastic player in Hato. People don't do this, and I also know a lot of people that I know that have said, "What a player you signed! Like, we wanted him for our team. Fantastic to get him." And I kind of always knew this deal was going to get done, because how many minutes did Cucurella play last year? It was an incredible amount of minutes, and how he didn't get injured, I'll never know. But it goes to show you the mark of the man in Cucurella, because the adversity that he'd come back from, the Boo Boys giving him stick every week, there's suddenly now been, I'll be honest with you, I think he's one of, if you ask most people, most Chelsea fans, they would say that Cucurella is one of their favourite players. Instantly. He gets people sent off that with his hair gets pulled every other week, it seems. But no, he's a fantastic fullback. Really impressed with him in the friendlies. I thought he was outstanding. So yeah, I think, like you say, Chris, if you could swap both of our fullbacks, or all four of our fullbacks for four others, I wouldn't take it right now. I think we're very blessed there. And very proud of Cucurella for turning his form around, because that was a hard thing to do, because he was really, he was in that Potter reign, wasn't he, where no one liked Potter, and it was all kind of like, he can go with him, sort of get them all out type thing. But Cucurella stuck at it. And interesting comment from him, which came out recently, which he said he didn't realise that you had to win at Chelsea every week like you do. He was like, at Brighton and teams he's played for in the past, if you win, great. If you draw, yeah, that's all right. If you lose the odd game, who cares? He didn't realise that if you lose any game for Chelsea is a big deal, whether that's a League Cup game or a Conference League game or a Premier League game. He knew after a few weeks or a few months that actually I've got to pull my finger out, and he has done. So fair play to him.
Yeah, he's become the sort of a real connector between the fans and the squad, I think, because the fans just love him now. It's an amazing turnaround. He will, if he signs that new contract and carries on this form for years to come, he will be a real Chelsea hero, I think, that we look back on. Centre backs. So it looks as we record that the five centre backs that we'll be going into the season with will be Tosin, Adarabioyo, Chalobah, Wes Fofana when he's back. He's back training. Hopefully he'll be involved in some way against Palace. Josh Ashimpong and Badiashile. The big gutting point of the only real down really in the last few months for Chelsea has been the injury to Levi Colwill, which I think just hit us all like a punch to the stomach, didn't it? Coming when it did. Where do you stand on this then, in terms of those five? It's your position, and whether you think we need to do business before the end of the window. It sounds like, from what you read in the media, that the club are almost torn on it a little bit between whether to move or not in the market. What do you think?
Well, firstly, obviously, very sorry for Colwill, and we all wish him a very speedy recovery. I mean, it's a shocking injury, and hopefully he gets back to his best form ASAP. I've said to you, I think he's looking more and more like again, I'm not trying to put a comparison out there, but more of a John Terry figure. I felt as though he led the line. It was like Colwill and someone. Our starting lineup was always going to be him and another player. Obviously, that's gone now. So you're looking for any of those 5 or 6 that you just mentioned to kind of be that guy. I don't know if any of them really are. People would say Tosin because he's the eldest player and all the rest of it. I don't think Tosin's nearly as good as Colwill, like not even close. I think he's a good player. I think he's a dependable player, but I think he needs someone alongside him. But he would be the obvious choice because of his age and experience. Do we need to buy or invest there? I would think maybe. It's a maybe, because I think Acheampong is a very, very good replacement for Colwill. I think the club will quite like the fact that he's a Cobham boy. I've been nothing but impressed by Acheampong in these games. I thought he didn't play much in the Club World Cup, but what I saw of him was good. I think he's just a real talented football player. Has he got the experience? Obviously not. He hasn't. But I think that Chelsea are going to outscore a lot of teams this year by a considerable distance. And I think if we make the odd mistake at the back and concede a goal, I don't think, like last year, I suddenly went, oh no, we're winning games 1-0 a lot. If we concede a goal, that's going to be tight for us. I don't see that this year for Chelsea. I think we've got a lot of flair and flamboyant players up front, which we'll come to in a minute, I know. But I think that kind of almost gives the back four a little bit of an out this year. I would like to see Mark Gurhey from Palace come in. I think that would be an easy and obvious replacement for us, because we have a buyback on him, which is 25% less. Plus, he's got a year left in his contract, which means that he's going to be a little bit cheaper anyway. You'd think Palace chairman Parish has come out and said that he may have to sell him if he doesn't want to sign a new contract. So there's room there. I think if you did get him, that's a huge upgrade. But if you're going to piss off the entire squad by bringing him in, then I'm not too sure. The one that I don't want to annoy is Acheampong, because I think he's such a good football player. But I don't want to harp on about this too much, because I think we've all been kind of drained by the centre-half position. We've wanted a centre-half now for maybe 2 seasons, and we haven't done it. So I think if the club are going to do one, they should have done it already, personally.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to do it. I think we're going to sit on what we've got, and I think we'll go into the season with the players we have. And I'm actually, again, a bit like Sanchez. I'm kind of okay with it, but I would like to see Acheampong play a lot more this year and not just be a bit part player.
Yeah. I would. It's an easy one for me. I'd go and get Mark Gay, and I'd sell Badiashile. So I'd be making that change. So you've got your 5. You still means you get lots of minutes for Josh Acheampong. Fofana, unfortunately, he's going to miss games with injury, and you probably need to protect him actually in the same way that we did with Reece last year. You got to be really careful with Fofana, I think, and they managed that situation really well with Reece. I'd swap out Badiashile, which means you'd be selling the Monaco boys and bring in Mark Gay, because not just what he brings as a player on the pitch, and he's been brilliant for Palace, but I think he's a leader in the dressing room. He's obviously Palace captain. He's a Cobham boy. I think his personality fits that young group as well. So I think he'd bring a lot of positives, and also he could easily play with Cole. It's not a case of, when Cole comes back, they can't play together. Like, they absolutely could, and they could end up being a partnership for Chelsea and a partnership for England. So yeah, I think that is one where we could end up, if we don't make a move, looking in a couple of months' time again. Yeah, we're lacking a little bit of leadership at the back, but let's see how that plays out.
I've got no issue with that. I think it'd be a great signing, like I said, and like all the points you've just made. I would just err on the side of caution. They want 50 million for him, and even though it's not my money coming out of my bank account, I still think that you have to be careful. And Chelsea paying 50 million. I know we said they've got the 25% off bonus for the sell-on fee, but I think they need to be careful they don't overspend on a player with less than 12 months on his contract. So that'd be my only thing with him. Just make sure if you're going to get him, get it at a proper price, because Palace can do you sometimes.
Yeah, true. Or don't buy Garnacho. Another way to save money. Right, centre midfield. I think it's another area that you could argue that there's not a team in the league that wouldn't swap for our batch. So I've got 5 listed as kind of classic centre midfielders. So Moises Caicedo, he's not bad, is he? Enzo Fernandez. I forgot a man, Romeo Lavia. I literally, when I first did this list, I actually forgot him, which is terrible, isn't it? Because it feels like he hasn't played in a while. Andre Santos and Dario Sugo. I think that people like our favourite Jamie Carragher just don't actually realise how good this bunch of midfielders are. So I think people are slowly waking up to how good Caicedo and Enzo are. But I think Andre Santos is going to surprise a lot of people next season. We know how good Lavia is when he's fit. And Asugo's come in and, he was billed as mini Caicedo, wasn't he, before we signed him, or before we saw him in the Chelsea shirt. Every time I've seen him so far, I've been like, oh yeah, he is like that. And what a person to have to be able to rotate in. It's an amazing group, isn't it, that 5?
Yeah, mate, it's an incredible central midfield bunch of players. I mean, Caicedo gets better every single week. He seems to know the position now. And there was a few times last year where, you were sort of saying N'Golo Caicedo or whatever it was. And I was like, yeah, I get it. But there was still a few moments in games where I was like, can't say would have been there. Can't say would have been there. It's such a hard position. And I'm splitting hairs here massively, of course. But there was, again, these last couple of games, and I know they're only friendlies, but it was his positioning now is so good. He must be a dream. For the 2 centre-backs, it must be like, oh, this is wonderful. I mean, Terry and Gal, I think, used to say when Makelele played, it was like just watching a spectacle, in front of them. He was just everywhere. And Caicedo now just seems to be that player where he's undroppable. He is completely undroppable, a bit like Palmer. As for everybody else, my issue here is for Enzo Fernandez, and it's not because he's not a good player, and it's not because he doesn't deserve to play or anything like that. But I do think, though, Andre Santos could be a problem for him. And obviously, Lavia, we know when he's fit, is fantastic, but he's never fit. Let's be honest. I think Chelsea will play at times Santos and Caicedo with Fernandez further forward. I think that will happen. Maybe not the start of games, but you'll see it as the game goes on, and when substitutions happen, you'll see that. Fernandez is fantastic. He's the only player we've got in the team that can arrive late into the box, a bit like Lampard used to do. He's done that more than once last season, which I thought was brilliant, and he added goals to his game. And Enzo can really finish. Like, he's a proper, finisher of the ball, which I don't think the other guys at the moment are, although we haven't seen another Santos to prove that point. I wouldn't want to make these decisions. I'll be honest with you. Maresca would obviously, I reckon he'd already hope that the medical team's taken him before a game. If he's got 5 fit central midfield players to say, oh, he's got a niggle, so give him a rest this week. He'd almost want that, because he'd be like, what do I do? Because I'm going to annoy somebody. I think they're all getting so strong. And what was lovely was that goal that Delap scored at the end of the game against Milan. That ball from Santos, was just a dream. As a striker, to have someone that can do that for you, absolutely incredible. So, mate, it's a difficult decision for Maresca. What he does with these 5 players, I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be. Asugo will obviously be the one that gets less minutes, we would think. But, mate, it's going to be a tough decision for next season for him.
Yeah. There's so many games which will obviously help us when it being back in the Champions League, and I think probably you'll expect Caicedo and Enzo to be there in all the really, really big games, but there'll be plenty of rotation. The thing about Enzo, and I have really come around on him, I think he's really grown as a leader in the dressing room, and this could be proven to be wrong in the future. I've always got the feeling with him that he's not destined to stay at Chelsea forever. In the same, someone like Moises Caicedo, in my head, I'm like, he'll still be at Chelsea in 5 years' time. I've just got a feeling that he'll still be around. Someone like Enzo, he's constantly linked to Real Madrid or now PSG, and you kind of just think, yeah, you wouldn't be surprised in the summer if Santos grows and those other players, if he does £100 million move in the summer and has another big move ahead of him. So I think it's it's going to be really interesting anyway. That's not me saying he won't be brilliant this season and play really well and have a big part to play, but I think in bringing in someone like Andre Santos, who has almost gone a little bit under the radar in the end because of the excitement around people like Estevão and João Pedro and others that we'll talk about. But I think he's a brilliant player, and actually it's going to be really fun to see him play a more attacking role at times as well, because he's done that brilliantly for Strasbourg. Was a real goal threat for them as well, which again we know that Enzo gives us. But we are blessed. We are 100% blessed in that area.
I completely agree. I just think with Fernandes, he's a real. I know he's not everybody's favourite, but I like him a lot. I love his attitude, and like you say, I love his desire to win. I think that's a real Argentinian thing, isn't it? They absolutely hate losing anything, and I think that I get what you're saying about the whole not being at Chelsea for forever, and I can kind of see it myself. If this year Fernandes has a good season, scores some goals, does okay, but his performances maybe aren't as fantastic, but Santos comes in and proves to the team and to the manager that he is a very, very good replacement for Fernandes, and a bid was to come in from Real Madrid, say for 85 million or something, I think you'd have to look at that and say, whilst Enzo's still playing and young enough to be in a position of good resale value, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you could then go and replace, if you've got Santos coming in with him, Asugo turns out to be a good player as well, and you can go and buy your goalkeeper or another striker or whatever it might. I just think that might be what happens. But I really like Enzo, and I like the fact that he hates losing games. I like the fact that when he does lose a game, he's visibly upset, because that's how I feel. And as a fan, I'm like, yes, he gets it. He actually gets what we're doing. So, yeah, he's a bit of an enigma, isn't he? Like, I think you love him or you not hate him, but he's definitely on the fence for people, Enzo. And I think I heard someone say the other day that Santos is definitely Enzo Fernandez' replacement. Like, well, you can't say that at the moment because Enzo's still a brilliant player. But that's people kind of getting whipped up because of what they've seen in these pre-season games. So we'll see with him. But yeah, like I say, I think we are very blessed in that area of the field.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Enzo's brilliant. And it's almost the biggest compliment you can give is like, oh, if he left, he'd go to Real Madrid or PSG, because it's like, yeah, pretty two of the best clubs around. Right. The attacking group. We're going to talk about the attackers and the strikers separately. What I think is an interesting point here is it's kind of got a little bit under the radar. Chelsea have effectively rebuilt our whole attack from last season, because we've effectively swapped out the likes of Madueke, probably Nicholas Jackson, probably Nkunku, Jadon Sancho, obviously Mudryk, remember him? So many of them that we started last season as our attacking group have completely changed this year. And the only ones that are sticking around really is Cole Palmer and Pedro Neto. So it's a really exciting group. We'll do the attackers first. So kind of the ones behind the strikers. Likely that we'll go in with 6, I think, of which one is Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, Jamie Gittins, Estevão, Willian. Oh god, he's exciting. And then I've got 2 here, and it'll either be Tyreek George or Garnacho, and it'll either be Nkunku or Xavi Simons. And we expect it'll probably be Garnacho and Simons. But what for this, I guess for the focus of this conversation, we should talk about the 4 definites. I mean, we've said so much about Cole Palmer up to this point. What else can you say? But I'm gonna put you on the spot, actually, Joe. How excited were you watching Estevão at the weekend? I mean, we one of our first ever podcast episodes a year ago was the day we signed him, and our initial responses and how excited we were based on the hype that you'd seen on social media and stuff. I don't remember smiling as much watching a Chelsea player make a debut as watching that kid.
All you ever hope is a player can deliver on his promise. So you've seen the videos, you've seen the clips, you've seen, you heard the reports from Brazilian superstars, ex-players, etc., managers have all said how wonderful he is. Excuse me. But seeing it in the flesh for your own team, and he even played against us, obviously, in the Club World Cup, but seeing it for your own team, you're like, wow. And Pat Nevin was a wonderful player for Chelsea. And he did the commentary for the Channel 5s, and he was just laughing. He was laughing, like giggling like a kid. Like that's his sort of player. And like he said, he didn't need a warm up. He was just like, no, I'm just going to the first time I get it, going to dribble straight at my fullback, and I'm going to take him on left and right. And like I just said at the start of the pod, Cole Palmer just was looking for him the entire time. He never looked left; he just went right every single time.
Mm.
And Estevão was there. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with him this year. I think we will kind of work him in a bit more. I would love to see him start on Saturday, but I honestly think that we'll work him in a little bit. I hope we see him start a lot more games than not. But oh mate, as excitement goes, he is up there with the very, very best players I've seen for Chelsea. And you could throw Hazard and Zola and all those in there. This guy looks like if he stays and wants to be a Chelsea kind of legend, mate, the sky's the limit with him. I think he looks incredible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I messaged a football group I'm on with a couple of other fans from other teams, and I was just like, honestly, guys, we have wait till you see this guy. Like, he is special. You could hear it in Pat Nevin's, right? You could hear it even in the commentator as well, being like excited by this kid and what he's going to do. And what I love about him is he's immediately likable, isn't he? The way he plays with a smile on his face, he looks like he's having fun on the pitch. He can take corners. Joe have someone who can take a decent corner at last. And yeah, you're right. The link up between him and Palmer. I think I messaged you during the game, didn't I? I said, oh, it reminds me of that Mata Hazard season where they just would always look for each other, wouldn't they? And it was like you say, it was exactly the same. Yeah, it's an exciting group. And then let's talk briefly about, I mean, Paul Palmer, we don't even need to, apart from the fact he's got his swagger back and he looks amazing. Pedro Neto, I think, is really built on the World Club Cup and he looks brilliant. I mean, it's easy to overlook it. His ball in, his cross. I mean, he was a constant menace, wasn't he? But his cross for João Pedro's header in the Milan game was superb. And I think Jamie Gittins, who again most of Chelsea fans probably didn't know that much about, I think he immediately got our attention, didn't he, with the speed of his step overs and how dynamic he looked. It's a fun group of players, that, isn't it?
Was it just me, or did we put the ball in the box a lot more and a lot earlier? So earlier in the game, I felt as though last year we did a lot. We've said it many times. We would our wingers dribbled to the byline, they cut it back for the fullback, and before you knew it, we were back by the centre halves again. You're thinking, where are we going? The Newcastle away game. Literally, I wanted to throw the TV out. We seem to be just whipping the ball in. Even Tariq George, when he had his game against Leverkusen, was whipping the ball into the box all the time. Pedro can head the ball and Delap can head the ball. So you've now got a striker, or strikers, I should say, that can do that. The Pedro goal looked so easy, didn't it? Like, heading the ball is not a difficult skill. I want to throw this out there. It's not a difficult skill, but most people just don't like doing it. I find it staggering because I used to love heading the ball. But you'd be amazed. You play with all your teammates and they close their eyes and it hits them on the top of the head. That little ball from Neto against Milan, and Pedro just walked in and went, yeah, there's a goal, bosh, easy. Like, I think we're going to do that a lot this year. And I think having pressure from both sides of the field is massive, because if you've just got a really good winger that plays on the right-hand side, you can double up, you can treble up, you can really force a team, down a cul-de-sac. When you've got Gittins or you've got Neto, Estevão, George, maybe Garnacho, who knows? When you've got players on both sides of the field that can get at you, it's very difficult to mark, and defenders don't really know where to go, and you can confuse a back four very, very quickly. So I think, again, very blessed in these areas, and like you say, completely rebuilt that area of the field for us. So again, very exciting times to be a Chelsea fan. I think all these things we're saying, it sounds like we're going to win the league by 4 or 5 points, but we're not suggesting that. But I do think that we are going to be a really fun team to watch next season, and I just don't think defenders are going to like playing against us at all.
No. And I think perfect segue into the strikers there. So very likely, as we record, that it will go in with 2 strikers next year. So it'll be João Pedro and Liam Delap, and likely Nicholas Jackson will be sold. I think we've been on record saying that we've always liked Jackson, would have liked to have kept him around, and if been greedy, probably have a third striker in the squad. He does offer you stuff, but what you are seeing with these two, that I think both of them started their Chelsea careers really well. I mean, João Pedro incredibly well, Delap very well, is it kind of makes you realise what you are missing in terms of that real cold sort of centre forward play. And you know, Nick Jackson definitely is one of those players who didn't like heading a ball. It was like 50p head, wasn't it? Half the time it might go in, it might go in. Was the one in the Conference League that just hit him on the shoulder and went in? You're like, oh yeah, it kind of counts. But what I really like about João Pedro and Delap is that they offer us very different things, don't they? In terms of, I think João Pedro loves coming towards the ball, can play almost like a number 10. He's happy to run in behind as well, but we'll do a lot more of that interplay. Whereas Delap is more of your old school, just get the ball in the box and let me attack it. And I think you're going to see it so many times that which one of those starts, the other one will be coming on after an hour, and the centre backs are going to be looking at each other going, "Oh, great, okay, we've got to deal with that now." And I think the other thing we'll see it probably when we need a goal. There's no doubt they could play together because we've seen João Pedro play off strikers as well. So yeah, both very exciting, aren't they?
We've all seen Delap's running in behind. I think that's what I didn't see that. I mean, I didn't watch Ipswich a lot last season, so I can't claim that I did. But he's running off the ball and his unselfish runs off the ball. That's what I think is fantastic, and that's what again will create holes for Cole Palmer to walk into, and hopefully, you know, he can. We all know he can finish. That's what I'm really excited to see. And also, both those players are goal hungry. Now, I'm not going to criticise Jackson here because he's still a Chelsea player. And if he stays, I'm all for it. I'm fine with that. But what I will say about Delap and Pedro is they seem like scoring goals is like, it means something to them. Look at Delap. Okay, it was his first goal at the Bridge. I get it, but the penalty. It was like he just scored a goal in the Champions League semi-final or something. Like, it means something. They want to score goals. I love players that want to score goals. I hate it when you see a forward kind of just, oh, I got an assist today and I had some good link-up play. I don't care. I don't care that you linked the play up well. Did you score? No. Have you scored for 10 weeks? No. That should hurt you as a player. And we all know as a centre forward, it's a confidence game. A bit like striker. A bit like goalkeeper. It's a confidence position. But my word, if one's not doing it, you feel as though the other one will. And what's nice is the press during the two friendlies were almost trying to pit them against each other, which I thought was a bit odd. So I heard on the commentary at one point that when Delap scored, Pedro clapped him. And then they said, oh, but when Pedro scored in the last game, Delap didn't clap him. And I thought, oh, you're just trying to create a story there that isn't there. And I thought that was frustrating. I didn't like that very much. And it was nice to see Pedro come out and just say, no, we're not. We want to play, like that's obvious, but we're kind of in this together. We're trying to work this as a partnership. It might be that they don't actually play on the field at the same time for many times this season. But I think that when they do, they're going to be a real handful. And when one's doing it, the other one's going to be quite pleased for him, opposed to kind of like being grumpy on the bench. You saw Jackson, when he gets taken off, he's grumpy and he hates it. And, you know, some will say that's a good trait to have to be a striker. But when you're scoring 25 goals a season, yeah, it's a great trait to have. But if you haven't scored for 14 weeks, surely you can't be disappointed or you can't be shocked that you're getting the hook. I think that is a massive upgrade. You know, who would have thought that two goal scorers can change a team around? And again, much like Palmer, and if it's going to be Jerry Simmons or those players that can feed a ball into a striker, realise they can hold it up and then make a secondary move off of that. That's what you need in a forward. And you mentioned Mata, Hazard and Oscar. That's what they did. They knew that if they gave it to that person, they wouldn't lose it. And I think that's what is nice for Palmer. He's got Estevão the other side. He's got Gittins over here. He's got, you know, Santos, Caicedo. No one gives the ball away. And I think that is what is so key for this team. So, yeah, very, very excited for Pedro and Delap this season. And hopefully they can go, one of them at least can go on to score 20-plus goals.
Yeah, it's a great group. So that takes us through. So it's a 25-man squad based on basically that list that we put out, which is probably about right. On top of, obviously, there's some really talented youngsters through Cobham that we saw a little bit of in the pre-season. But it feels like a good group. And after this break, we will talk about what we think the realistic expectations are for that squad and what we can do. Hey, it's Chris here with a really quick message. Check us out on Instagram at 1905 Podcast. You'll find video clips, photos, and much more about everything we discuss on the show. Plus, it's a great way to get in touch to tell us your thoughts, share your feedback, or just say hi. Follow us on Instagram at 1905 Podcast. And now, back to the show. Okay, we talked about the squad. Joe, let's talk about what we think is realistic expectations for this season. We did this last year when we talked about league positions, and as I said earlier, we were both pretty confident that we would get Champions League, which we obviously did in the end. Did a little poll on our WhatsApp group that we often talk about on this pod to just get a sense of the mood there. And I think a year ago there was a real mix between people who thought we might nick fourth to finish sixth to even lower. Having got rid of Pochettino, we might sort of go back a step. This year it's very different, and there's a split actually between our group, between people who think we could win, which caught me out, and could win the league finishing first, but actually everyone else was saying second or third, so a top three finish. I'll go first on this one and say that I have a feeling that we're going to finish third and close the gap considerably to the winners, and I think we're going to finish above Arsenal. And I've got a feeling that they're going to be the one that falls down. Don't think they'll fall massively, but I think they could be fourth or fifth, and it'll be either City or Liverpool that win the league. But I think if we can have that kind of almost a bridging season where you get closer to a title challenge, not quite there, but I think close enough that the players and the squad go through that experience together of being in it, around April time is still in the running. I think that would be a really good season for us, and I think you're almost looking at points tallies and those kind of things for this season as a point of progress. But so I'm going third, and I think that would be a really good season for us. Where are you at?
Yeah, not a lot to add to that, mate. To be honest with you, I think that's a fairly fair position for us. I actually think anywhere between 1 and 3. I know one, people might think I'm getting carried away and excited, but I'm just saying, if things didn't quite happen for Liverpool or Man City and there was a few drop points here and there, Chelsea are now in a much better position to kind of close that gap up. So let's just say we finish with 85 points. That could be good enough to win the league, more than good enough to win the league. So if the top teams took points off each other, and unlike Liverpool, who went on this long streak of games pretty much beating everybody, but they won a lot of games 1-0 last year, and Slot himself came out after the Palace game and said we won a lot of games 1-0 and 2-1, and by the odd goal. And you can sort of sense in him that he's not completely happy with his back four. They're conceding a lot of goals at the moment, and we all know pre-season is pre-season. But I think that if they were to slip and those 1-0s became 1-1 on a few occasions next season, that's where Chelsea need to be in a position, as you rightly say, to be in April time. Can we push on and win? Like this year, we had to win 4 games to finish fourth, or whatever it was. We might have to do that again next year, but instead of finishing fourth, it could be to finish second or first. I think third is where we should aim, and then anything else obviously is an absolute result. So I think that's probably right. And I think Arsenal also be the ones to miss out if it's to be that way.
Yeah. I've got a feeling City are gonna win it. It might even be Pep's last year. I don't know why. I think we know as well with Liverpool is make all the signings in the world, but one, no guarantee that those big money signings will immediately settle. And two, it's always really hard to retain the league. Really, really difficult. It's one of the most difficult things to do, I think. Champions League, I think you got to get to the knockout stage, and then it's obviously a cup competition. It's a bit of a lottery, but I think that could be one area that Chelsea could do really well, and I could see us, if we can get to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, I think that would be amazing. And again, I think hopefully the World Club Cup would have, certainly the final there, would have given that squad some confidence that they can go up against the very best. And I don't know about you, Joe, I'm just excited to have the Champions League nights back at the Bridge. It hasn't been that long that we were in it, but it feels like really long somehow since we were last in it, which was that Potter Lampard year. But it feels like ages ago, doesn't it? So just having Champions League back at the Bridge is exciting.
Yeah, hugely. I, like you, would like us to go as far as we can. That's an obvious statement, but I think we can get to the semi-finals. And again, once you get to that point, it is just anybody's game. So firstly and foremostly, let's qualify. Let's make sure we get those. It's 8 games we play. Let's make sure we get enough points to get ourselves in a position where we kind of get a favourable draw, hopefully. And all those people that were saying last year when we were playing the Conference League, right? Oh, we're playing Djurgården. Oh, we're playing Rapid Vienna. That's who we were drawn against. Like, that was the quality of the competition. It was almost like, oh, Man City are playing AC Milan and so-and-so are playing Juventus. We couldn't play against those teams because we weren't in the competition. So my point is, we've just played Leverkusen and Milan. And are you scared by either of those two teams? Because I'm not. I don't know if they're in the Champions League next season. I assume they are. They might not be. But that caliber of team are the ones we're going to come up against next season. And we've just wiped the floor with them. Like, wiped the floor. They don't scare me. The only ones you'd be really worried about are the Premier League teams, if I'm honest with you. The Premier League teams and obviously Real Madrid and Barcelona's. But other than that, I think no one's going to want to play against this Chelsea team. Look at PSG. And look, that was a one-off game in a final. If you play them over 2 legs, they could possibly do you. You know, we know that. But I would be more than confident that Chelsea can compete with everybody next year. And I think, like we've said before, as long as we're competing with these teams, if you go out on away goal, no, is it away goals? I think anymore. I don't think it is. But if you go out in a really close game against one of these teams, I'm kind of all right with that as your first season back into the Champions League. But don't go and get yourself absolutely annihilated 7-0 over 2 legs or something by someone, like we did against Bayern Munich that year. But this Chelsea team isn't that. They are not a bunch of kids anymore. They have grown. They have got real quality. And as the season goes along, if Pedro and Delap and players like that are firing, I don't see how Chelsea can't cause these other sides some real problems.
Yes, and let's win a domestic cup. Let's win at Wembley again. It's been too long. I don't actually mind either of them that we win, but I just want to win. It'd be nice to keep the trophy run going. Now that we've got that feeling of winning trophies again, I think it would be again really good for the squad to have one of those seasons where if you finish third in the league, quarterfinal of the Champions League, but won the League Cup, I think it would just keep that momentum going, wouldn't it? That we're growing something. So, you know, that would be great. And outside of the competitions, is there anything else generally that you want to see this season in terms of progression from last season?
It's been an ongoing thing for me. It's closing that gap between in the bigger games, making sure we're not kind of winning 1 and losing 5 or something against, you know, your Man Cities, Liverpools, Arsenals, etc. I would like us to at least be drawing these games. Make sure they're not getting collecting 3 points against you. So we had the Arsenal game where we went to last year. We drew 1-1, and we thought, oh, okay, we could turn a corner here. Then we played Arsenal away, and we lost 1-0, and we didn't. You know, a bit like that Man City game years ago, we didn't bother to turn up. It was a 1-0 loss, but we were awful. I don't want to see those types of performances. If we do lose those games, at least be in the game, go for the jugular, which we didn't do last year in many of them. We played Liverpool back into the season when they had a slightly weakened team and they'd already won the league. So that's not going to happen again next year. So yeah, for me, definitely winning more of these bigger games and making sure that Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City aren't collecting 3 points against you and pushing themselves further apart from you. So that would be my biggest change I'd like to see for next season.
Yeah, it feels like we haven't won at one of those big away grounds for years, doesn't it? Like winning at Arsenal has been a long, long time now. Winning at Anfield, Man City, even Old Trafford. We haven't won at Old Trafford for ages either, have we? It feels like those sort of games when it's the big Super Sunday game, etc. It'd be nice to go into those and actually give it a real go again, wouldn't it? And really show progression. I think I'm going to pick one that's maybe off the pitch. It's obvious to say, let's sort out a proper shirt sponsor. Let's get that done. I'd like a company I've actually heard of. and that is like a nice brand to have on the shirt. But I think the shirts this year are looking great. I think most people really like the kits. It's got a beautiful little, well, very big gold badge in the middle. It just needs a good sponsor below it. So I think that would be that they have to sort that out. It's sort of still frustrating going into the start of the season. We don't have that done. And we're going to talk more about it in the Palace preview show, but an update on the stadium this season. We've been waiting quite a while now. It would be nice to know what the future is for Stamford Bridge so that we can at least have a bit of clarity on that. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you start winning on the pitch and having, I don't know, the good mood around the club and the squad again, it's funny how all the negative chat about the owners has just completely gone out of the media. It's not been a conversation point for months now, has it? It almost came back again when we were struggling, but everything seems to be good in the garden again.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, the shirt, sorry, it looks out of kilter at the moment. It looks out of whack to me. You've got the Nike sponsor, the Club World Cup, etc., and it needs something underneath. Do you not think it needs that something to offset it? Yeah, I agree. We can't surely go into another season having done what we've done last year in front of the whole world and not have a sponsor. That would be absolutely criminal. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, mate.
So true. They need to make that gold badge about 20% smaller as well. Like, it's great, but it is massive. It's ridiculous. Right, that's our season preview, and we'd love to hear what you think. Give us your predictions for next season. Let us know where you think we will finish in the league and what we can do in the other competitions. You can get in touch with us at hello@1905podcast.com and on Instagram, which is 1905podcast. We'll be back on Friday to preview the Crystal Palace game with a special guest, Daniel Charles, also known as Son of Chelsea. So we'll see you then. And yeah, here's sharing the excitement for what could be an amazing season ahead. Thanks for listening. And what's a good sign-off, Joe? I feel we need a good sign-off to the pod.
We'll have a think about it. We'll get on for next time.
There you go. We'll have a think about it. Nice one. Cheers everyone. Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.